The stars wheeled in the velvet blackness, a celestial showcase of light and sound that stretched out to the infinite. On a forgotten planet, in a corner of the galaxy, stood the small, rustic town of Willow Creek. It was a place where time moved with the slowness of a summer breeze, where life unfolded with the gentle rhythm of a lazy river. In the heart of the town, on a quiet street lined with ancient trees, stood the old Victorian home of Professor Thaddeus Wystan. The professor, a man in his early 70s, with a wild shock of white hair and eyes that twinkled like the stars on a clear night, had lived in that house for most of his life. He was a scholar, an expert in the fields of astrophysics and exobiology, and his work had taken him to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Wystan stood on his porch, sipping lemon tea and watching the stars with a sense of awe that had never left him. His eyes, tired from a lifetime of study, still sparkled with the wonder of a child. He felt the weight of his years, but his mind remained sharp as a razor's edge. As he stood there, lost in the vast expanse of the universe, a strange, pungent smell wafted on the breeze, like ozone and smoke. The professor's eyes narrowed, his gaze snapping back to the present. He knew that smell, had encountered it only once before, on a distant planet, in a long-forgotten corner of the galaxy. The memory flashed before his eyes like a holographic recall, sharp and vivid. He was a younger man then, on a mission to the remote planet of Zeridia, studying the ruins of an ancient alien civilization. The smell had been everywhere, an acrid, piercing odor that seemed to sear the lungs. It was as if the very fabric of space-time was unraveling, leaving behind a trail of burning embers. Wystan's eyes scanned the horizon, his mind racing with the implications. The smell was back, and it could mean only one thing. The anomaly had returned. He had spent years studying the phenomenon, trying to understand its origins and purpose. Now, it seemed he was about to get another chance. As if summoned by his thoughts, a faint, bluish glow appeared on the horizon. The professor's heart quickened, his pulse pounding in his temples. The glow grew brighter, illuminating the sleepy town, casting long shadows across the streets. Windows began to glow, as if the very essence of the anomaly was seeping into the fabric of reality. Wystan's eyes locked onto the center of the glow, his mind racing with the possibilities. Was it a message, a warning, or something else entirely? He felt the weight of his years lifting, his senses electrified by the thrill of discovery. In that moment, the night air seemed to vibrate with anticipation, as if the very universe was holding its breath. And then, in the heart of the glow, a shape began to take form. The shape solidified, its edges growing sharper, like a crystal forming in the depths of the earth. It was a vessel unlike any Wystan had seen before. The hull was a deep, iridescent purple, like the belly of a butterfly, and it seemed to shift and shimmer in the light. The professor's eyes devoured every detail, his mind racing with the implications. The vessel hovered above the rooftops, casting a mystical glow over the sleeping town. Windows began to rattle, and dogs howled in the distance, sensing the disruption in the fabric of reality. Wystan felt the air vibrate with an otherworldly energy, as if the very fabric of space-time was being stretched to its limits. Suddenly, a hatch slid open, revealing a dimly lit interior. A figure emerged, tall and imposing, with skin like polished obsidian. Its eyes glowed with an ethereal light, as if stars had been forged within their depths. The being regarded Wystan with an unblinking gaze, as if sizing him up for some unknown purpose. Wystan felt a shiver run down his spine, but he stood his ground, his curiosity getting the better of him. He had faced the unknown before, and he was not about to back down now. The being took a step forward, its movements eerily fluid, as if it was not bound by the same physical laws as humanity. "Greetings, Professor Wystan," it said, its voice like the gentle lapping of waves on a summer shore. "I am Ambassador Zorvith, from the planet Zeridia. I have come to discuss a matter of grave importance, one that may decide the fate of the galaxy." Wystan's eyes narrowed, his mind racing with the implications. What could be so important that it would warrant a visit from an advanced alien civilization? And what did they want from him, a humble scholar from a small town on a forgotten planet? Wyston's eyes locked onto Zorvith's, searching for any hint of deception or ulterior motive. But the ambassador's gaze was as calm and unfathomable as a still pond. The professor's instincts, honed by years of navigating the complexities of the galaxy, sensed that Zorvith was not one to be underestimated. The fate of the galaxy? Wyston repeated, his voice even, his mind racing with the implications. That's a rather grand claim, Ambassador. I think I deserve an explanation. Zorvith's gaze never wavered, but a subtle nod acknowledged Wyston's skepticism. Very well, Professor. The Zeridians have been monitoring a distortion, a rift in the fabric of spacetime. It is growing, spreading across the galaxy like a stain on silk. We believe it is a symptom of a far greater problem, one that threatens the very existence of our universe. Wyston's eyes narrowed, his mind grappling with the scale of the problem. A rift in spacetime was no trivial matter. It could have far-reaching consequences, unraveling the fabric of reality itself. What makes you think I can help? Wyston asked, his tone cautious, though his curiosity was piqued. Zorvith's gaze seemed to bore into Wyston's very soul. Your research on the anomaly, Professor, has not gone unnoticed. Your insights into the nature of spacetime are unprecedented. We require your expertise to understand the source of this distortion, to find a way to stop it before it's too late. Wyston's eyes widened, the weight of the request settling upon him like a physical burden. He had always known that his work had the potential to change the galaxy, but he had never imagined it would be on this scale. As he stood there, the silence between them grew, punctuated only by the distant hum of crickets and the soft glow of the vessel's engines. Wyston knew that he had a choice to make, one that would determine the course of history. The stars seemed to twinkle in anticipation, as if the very universe held its breath, waiting for Wyston's response. The professor's mind raced, weighing the pros and cons, the risks and rewards. He thought of his quiet life in Willow Creek, of his books and his research, of the simplicity and comfort of his routine. But he also thought of the galaxy, of the countless worlds and civilizations that hung in the balance. He thought of the unknown, of the mysteries waiting to be unraveled, of the secrets hidden in the fabric of spacetime. Slowly, Wyston nodded, the decision crystallizing in his mind like crystal forming in a solution. I'm in, he said, his voice firm, resolute. Zorvith's gaze never wavered, but a hint of approval seemed to flicker in the depths of his eyes. Then let us begin, Professor, the ambassador said, his voice low and urgent. Time is short, and the fate of the galaxy hangs in the balance. With that, the world around Wyston seemed to shift, like the ticking of a clockwork mechanism. The stars brightened, the air vibrated with an otherworldly energy, and the professor felt himself being pulled into a realm beyond the boundaries of space and time. As he stepped forward, the vessel's hatch slid open, beckoning him to enter a realm of wonder and terror, of discovery and danger. Wyston hesitated for a moment, his heart pounding in his chest, and then he took the first step into the unknown. The night air seemed to whisper a warning, a soft breeze carrying the words on its breath. You will never be the same again, Professor Wyston. As Wyston stepped into the vessel, the hatch closed behind him with a soft hiss, enveloping him in a warm, golden light. The air inside was thick with an otherworldly energy, and the professor's senses were overwhelmed by the sheer intensity of the ship's technology. Zorvith led him through the corridors, the walls of which seemed to shift and flow like a liquid. Wyston stumbled, his mind reeling from the impossible geometry of the vessel. The ambassador's firm grip on his elbow guided him through the labyrinthine passages, until they reached a large, circular chamber. In the center of the room, a massive crystal console pulsed with energy, its facets reflecting the colors of the spectrum. The console seemed to be alive, as if it were a nexus of power and knowledge. This is the heart of the ship, Zorvith said, his voice full of reverence. Here, we will unravel the secrets of the anomaly and uncover the truth about the fate of the galaxy. Wyston's eyes were drawn to the console, which seemed to be calling to him, whispering secrets in a language he couldn't quite understand. He felt an overwhelming sense of wonder, of awe, as he realized that he was on the cusp of a discovery that would change the course of history. As he reached out to touch the console, the ship shuddered, and the chamber was filled with an intense, blue-white light. The professor felt himself being drawn into the heart of the crystal, his mind expanding to encompass the secrets of the universe. The ship's engines roared to life, and the vessel vanished into the night, leaving behind a trail of ionized gas and the faintest hint of ozone, like the whisper of a forgotten dream. The stars twinkled, oblivious to the fate of the galaxy. As the small town of Willow Creek slumbered, unaware of the cosmic adventure that had just begun.